Hey, we're live. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Joao. Welcome to the second episode of I Build, Therefore I Am. I'm here joined with Gabriel as my co-host today. And our amazing guest is Rahul, who's building ChainID. ChainID is a zero setup, all-in-one, cloud-powered, full-stack application development platform for Cartesi with rich guided user interface-based tooling to enhance the developer experience. So before we start, quick announcement, stick around for our Q&A because we will be rewarding the best question of each episode with a swag kit packed with Cartesi goodies. So throw those questions and let's dive right in. First things first. Hello, Rahul. How are you doing?
Hey Joe, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Gabriel?
Hello, guys. Hi there. It's really nice to be here. I feel like we're gonna have a great conversation with Rahul today. Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. So as I like to start in my huge one episode experience as a as a host, I would like to, before we jump into ChainID, for you to talk a little bit about yourself, right, Ho? Tell us about you. After all, like, who are you? What do you like to do? Everything about role. Sell us how your grandma would sell you.
Okay, so maybe just not my grandma, but you know, in a more advanced state. So I would say I am a software developer with over 5 years of experience, and I started, as early as in my high school. I started building front end. So I was a UI designer, started building front end. And then I transitioned into a full stack developer where I worked with some Webtree companies back in 2017. Recently, I moved to Canada and I've been completed my master's degree in computer science from the University of Alberta. And I've built a few SaaS toolings. So I was a lot into SaaS, software as a service. And apart from that, I launched, few open source projects like the Unity toolkit with Matrix Labs, where I'm currently working. And I also work with ChainID, which I'm actually here to talk about. Apart from all the tech stuff, I love trekking. I love playing board games. So actually based in Edmonton, which is pretty cold. So we are basically inside half of the year. So we spend time just by playing board games.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I love
Yeah.
those. I'm like a completely addict to Dungeons and Dragons, but
Oh wow.
more
There's a,
traditional
there's
games
a
like in Munchkin and wow, and I could talk about this for hours.
yeah, same. Yeah, same. There's actually a huge community here for Dungeons and Dragons, just in Canada.
Oh, this is
So
awesome. Okay, I know
yeah.
where I'm moving next to. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Apart from that, I've attended a few hackathons. When I was young, that was like I think I would say I attended my first hackathon when I was in college, and that was actually when I was very scared. And then it happened to be that I got the first position in that hackathon, which kind of motivated me to build further. So since that, I've been building more and more tools, more and more applications, and I have like kind of a business mindset as well, not just a coder mindset. So I try to figure out how the product that I'm building is actually useful to the users, how it actually gives value, and it's not just a showcase of technology. So it has to give certain value. Yeah, so that's actually a little bit about me. And sorry, I cut you off, Gabriel.
I know. I was just gonna comment that it looks like we need some more Web3 events in Canada.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And we actually have a team here. We would love to have interaction with you in person as well.
Like ChainID, you have a pro team in Canada. Is
Okay, so we have a distributed team actually. Part of our team is in North America, and the other part of the team is in East Asia. So it's in China and the rest of the Asia. And like the Canadian team is still relatively new. The Chinese side and the Asian side is here from like 2018 or 17. So yeah, so we have a decent sized team, like about 40 plus, or right now it should be around about 50 members worldwide.
Oh, that's pretty big for a totally decentralized company. How do you manage to actually keep in contact? How do you manage to organize teams? How does
That's
this
That's actually a great question because one of the things when it comes to managing, and one of the problems that we face is the cross-sea communication is the language. And most of the tools that we use so far, including Slack, they basically are focused on English community and a single community which is working together. But we actually had to migrate to a different tool called Lark. Through Lark, we can actually have all the features of Google Suite, like the Google Docs has its own parallel suite, and then we also have these basically live transcription and live translation features. So whenever we talk in meetings, we can actually speak in Chinese or in English or in any other language, and it live converts the text, so we can do that without having any hurdles. So I think this was a major breakthrough in our communication. And then there's few different things that we do. Like for example, we have these crossy sync ups regularly. We have we create some certain documents where we specify who the communication is for, just to keep it clear and transparent in the whole community, whole company. Yeah, so it's still challenging, but we try to figure how to best deal with it.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome. So I wanted to take a step back here and just ask a little bit about inside your journey, which you commented. What was the one thing that brought you to Web3? Like, how did you manage to get into a little bit of this? Because I know you're into lots of things at the same time, right? Uh,
Yeah. Okay, so honestly, when I started Web3, I was actually not sure what Web3 is. Everyone heard about Bitcoin somewhere or the other, but I was not really sure about Web3. And I happened to do a freelance UI project back in 2017, where I did it for an Australian company, and I figured that is what Web3 is. So I figured I'm working on some Web3 project. What are smart contracts? What is solidity? I kind of picked up those things from that time. And then through that, I actually learned, there's CryptoKitties, there's actually applications around it, and that actually kind of motivated me towards the Web3 journey. And I took some courses. Like there was Crypto Zombies actually is quite old, so I kind of picked Crypto Zombies as one of the early tools. And then during that time as well, there was actually a bad notion towards Web3. Like for example, there was something called as ICOs, which we don't call it anymore.
mhm.
But ICOs actually put a very bad name, and I also kind of put some money in through some ICOs, which went down. And I also kind of understood how Web3 is, how the economy works, how it's very different from Web2. And specifically, the major difference I realized was in Web2 we are just building applications, but here we are also doing something around the economy. So this is actually something that's really huge. It's not something we are able to understand that easily. So it took some time for me to understand, and finally I kind of put more time towards Web3. We actually built a hardware wallet back in 2018. A hardware crypto wallet to store Ethereum. Do tap and pay transactions. And I was lucky actually to visit Australia to launch this product in 2018. So kind of this is how I like started Web3. And meanwhile, I also picked up full stack development. Learned Node.js, React, all these frameworks. Also explored Vue, and try to build the whole thing from scratch from my end. So learning about like messaging queues, all these kinds of things. Yeah.
You mentioned
Yes.
something. Sorry, Gabriel.
No, I was just gonna mention. So you are one of the OGs. You've been in the industry for a while, and you're even mentioning like how it was a journey for you to understand like the economy impact of these things. But at the same time, I've been a while in crypto as well, and then you see that there is this stage where everything is economy. Everything is about tokenomics and how I can do this or that. There's gonna have this yield or that impact, and at some point, people stop producing applications for the use in of itself. And then it's interesting because actually now you're kind of in a different sector. I mean, at least the project you're building with us, ChainID, is totally different, right? So I would introduce like the question: how did you get there? Like, how did you get to ChainID?
Okay. So actually, that's a great question. And ChainID also has a similar story. But how I got to work with ChainID is so ChainID was already a product before I joined the company Matrix Labs, and I joined Matrix Labs actually in 2022. And how I joined it was I know one of the founders of this company through my master's degree. So we have a collaboration with the University of Alberta. So that's how I came to know about it. And immediately I know about this Web3 company. I kind of approached the guy, and we talked about Web3. We talked about the product and the requirements, and that's how I basically got in touch with ChainID. Now, basically, if you ask what ChainID is doing, is that it's a browser-based full stack development environment for building dApps and writing smart contracts. And how actually it started based on the experience from the founders is that they back also early in like 2017 and 18 they realized that there's a gap between developer tooling. Like there's so many scattered tools. You have to install some specific version of framework, another tool to do something else, and then there's another tool to basically run a local blockchain. And it all just became very hard and cumbersome for onboarding developers. So the founders itself had a hard time to understand how to install these tools and get the whole environment ready to build actual products, not just have something set up. But the whole process was not as easy as building any other Web2 project. And to solve that problem, um, so the first version of ChainID was launched, where we had the browser-based environment for writing smart contracts, and also we had a so the design of ChainID is that we have a separate cloud which runs these hot pods, and then in these hot pods we actually run a full a micro virtual machine which actually runs the whole thing that we're doing. So it would have the all the toolings, all the frameworks, all the packages. And then through the browser, it would connect to one of these pods and have all your files stored there. So we partnered with different companies to get some funding, and then this project was launched. And when this project went live, people actually used it, and not just them, but we ourselves used it. Like we built certain application using these using this environment, and we could actually build full stack environments. So it's not just writing smart contracts, testing them, but we could also build full stack. Like we could build a front end, we could test a front end directly in the browser. And the whole process of building Web3 applications actually became easier. So through this journey, I would say, and through this experience of having hard time building Web3, we actually solved a majority of that problem by introducing ChainID, and we saw some attraction and we saw like people are actually wanting these products, and we had to also produce some educational content around it. So this was actually a journey that we took to start ChainID.
It makes sense. When I got started, was even as Truffle was still getting to settle itself, right? It was so weird because you had to do like bash scripts for this and that, automate a bunch of the stuff there you do manually, and you had to know what you need to know, which is kind of like counterintuitive. Like, how do you even get started, right? So I got lucky somewhat because there were more experienced people around me to help me through it. But if you have like everything sort of integrated, it becomes a little bit more self-explanatory, right? In that sense, would you like to demo a little bit and show to the guests what you've been building and how it looks like?
Yeah, sure. Let me share the other tab.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually have a video, but if people are interested, I can actually show, walk them through the live version and show that as well. It's not a problem. Um, all right. So basically, let me just play the video and I'll walk you guys through on how ChainID works.
For
So
sure.
ChainID is a cloud-based tool, and you just have to visit the website. And then we have integrated GitHub to make the sign-in process easier. Once you use ChainID, there is no fee that has to be paid right now, so it's completely free. And anytime you create a new project, we have a set of these templates, like we provide for the multi-chain environment. Like for example, for Ethereum, we'll have sort of some basic templates and some advanced templates, which has some front end, some back end as well. And then same for these other chains like Polygon, Flow, Aptos, and some of the new chains that were recently added. So in this example, I think we pick a NFT. We try to see how we can deploy this NFT, do everything using ChainID. So for all of these templates, we have an environment that is very similar to VS Code. So you probably can see like the whole interface is built in order to make developers more comfortable. And on the left side, we have a set of options here. Like for example, this is the file explorer. This is to search all the files and the project. This one is to actually install plugins. So ChainID also supports customized plugins. It supports VS Code plugins as well. And then we have integration with the port manager. So if you would like to, map out a certain port from ChainID, since we are running hot virtual machines, we can actually do that as well. So this option is for linking in the GitHub and directly committing to GitHub repository that's connected. On the right side, we actually have these other tools. Like for example, here is the compiler. We have the deployer and the tester. We have a smart contract verifier, and then we have a AI tool as well. So let me just continue the video. So you can see that we have provide pretty detailed README, and we can actually do a front end preview. So whatever front end is being built, could be React, could be just JavaScript or HTML. So we can actually do a live preview here, and we can install these plugins like I mentioned earlier. So we can install any of these plugins here, and so yeah, so you can see these plugins are actually installed here. And when we install some plugin, it appears on the right side. So this is Code Sage. Code Sage is the AI code assistant that we have built for ChainID to make programming or writing smart contracts a lot easier. And on top of smart contracts, it also has the knowledge of the entire web. So it also has the knowledge of full stack development. So you can actually request it to comment on certain file. Like for example, if you write code, you can actually make it easier for the open source community to understand that code. We have a code advisor, which basically optimizes the file. It gives feedback on the each of the part of the smart contract of the code on what needs to be implemented or fixed. We have a decommentator, refactor, and then we can also do our own prompts. We can pass it our own prompts. It's actually fine-tuned based on smart contract data, and it works pretty well. Like we have got a lot of positive feedback. So as you can see, we can connect our wallet directly. Like in this video, we connect MetaMask, and we can connect any wallet that is currently supported on the browser. We can compile the smart contract directly here using the compiler. We have all different options available for the version. Yeah.
Just
So
as a quick
yeah,
question, and
yeah.
that falls in your presentation. So all that is integrated with Git and GitHub, so you can like code
Yes.
directly from. So oh, that's
Exactly.
nice, man.
Exactly. So you can actually push the code directly to GitHub from here. So the reason is that we want to support the open source development, and why not just make the whole process easier for that as well? So we have you can actually link your own GitHub directly. You can connect your own GitHub account, and then through that we can directly do that through this GitHub plugin that we have integrated.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see what you guys build to support Cartesi development with this, and it looks really sleek.
Yeah, Cartesi development is actually in the midst of in the first milestone. So we are actually at the end of like near the end of the completion. For Cartesi, I'll talk about it later during the podcast, but we have a certain set of new features that we're implementing, um, which just makes the whole process much more easier. So as you can see, we can actually deploy the smart contract directly from ChainID. And you can imagine ChainID is basically a remix on steroids. So it's not just basically compiler deployed. It has all the plugins that you would need, all the features that you would need to do the whole full stack development. We can do the verification of smart contracts as well. So Ethereum, I'll just fast forward this. So this is just a showcase. But apart from that, we have a smart contract flattener, and this is what we were talking about. So we can actually create a new GitHub repository, and we can directly basically push commit to any changes that we make. Um, and
So
it's
this is so
sorry.
nice. This is so good.
So another thing is that if you use ChainID, you don't have to stick to ChainID because you can always download the whole project locally for free without making any kind of a payment. And if maybe in future you would plan to use your own local tooling, so you can just go to the menu and download the whole project at any point of time. The only reason you would need to sign up to ChainID is so that we can know that you're an authentic person, since we give these virtual machines to all the users. Yeah, and yeah, so that's basically the short demo of ChainID. I'd like to also spend a minute talking about the new features of ChainID. So this is what ChainID was for the last few years. Um, in 2024, we are actually releasing the ChainID 2.0, and the 2.0 is a completely new interface. So this one is not actually VS Code compatible, but the 2.0 is fully VS Code compatible. So that also means that you can actually upload your own VS Code plugins. You can actually build custom plugins for VS Code and directly use it in ChainID, or you have access to the whole marketplace. So you can install any plugin that you want and directly use it on the browser.
This
Um,
is this is something I was going to ask you as well. Like, can we also get the functionalities that you created for ChainID on VS Code somehow?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for example, if we build any plugin, on a GitHub, it's available. Most of the open source plugins are available on the GitHub, so people can actually download these plugins. And I would say just wait for the V 2.0, which will be launched. It's actually pretty much developed from our end. We are just doing some internal testing. When it is launched, we have access to all the features and the full direct integration with VS Code. So you can actually build your own plugins locally for VS Code. or use the plugins that you use in your local VS Code directly in ChainID. So it's just a way to make the development process easier and more smooth with this browser-based ID.
I see. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about ChainID. And in the V2.0, we have the whole new interface. We have done the whole rebranding as well. We'll have a new website. Um, we'll also launch a new education platform. So we are large on the developer community, and one of the ways we want to contribute is through education. So we have built 2 courses so far, 3 actually. So 2 are for Solidity, and one is for the Sui language, the Sui move. And these 2 courses are available again for free. So these courses are interactive, so they give you access to a light version of ChainID, where you can learn on the left side and kind of like start coding on the right hand side and do everything. So yeah, so we're kind of trying to contribute to ChainID in this way.
That's so cool. So I think the demo is over, right?
Yeah.
You can stop. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we do have some questions regarding the demo itself. But
Yeah,
first,
sure.
tiny story from my side. When I joined the CGP, which is the grant program you apply to build ChainID, right? As a council member, we just had our Nigerian masterclass, and in there we had a huge problem, I'm not gonna lie, of setting up environment in the developers system, because sometimes computers had problems of compatibility, or they already had preset some configurations that had to be rolled back or something. So when your proposal arrived and when I read it, I went running to Gabriel, who's also on CGP, and I'm like, dude, this is all that we asked for. This is crazy. So we were really excited about it. That said, I think the thing that got us most hyped on all of it was like how it was going to ease the developer journey. We were already talking about trying to use Gitpod, some version of creating some instance of remix ourselves that would work with Cartesi Tech or something. This was what got us most interested, like face front. What is the thing that gets you more excited about ChainID? What's the thing that makes you more proud of the tool that you are building and what you're accomplishing here?
Okay, so I would say I actually love when people actually use the tool. And so even if we launch a small feature, even if we launch a small integration, and if I see people actually using it, I think that's the best feeling. In terms of ChainID, we have actually contributed towards developer tooling in a way that we provide a easy all-in-one browser-based environment for building these projects. Like we just saw. And we have seen a huge traction in number of developers, in number of projects that were interested in using the tool. And we have got really good feedback from developers on how it just makes the whole journey a lot easier. So I think when I see the metrics on the users count, all that, so actually that does make me happy that people are using the tool that we have built. We've spent years building, trying to understand the problem. Yeah, so I think that would be the number one thing. The other thing is that when I see myself on the other side, when I see myself as a user, a Web3 user, so I think ChainID really kind of tried to solve that problem, and it just makes me happy that I can also use my own tool. So yeah,
It really does.
That makes sense.
It makes everything so much simpler. I do have another question regarding that, and as when I was evaluating the proposal, right, checking if everything was according to what we wanted in a proposal, I actually went and asked you some questions regarding the AI part of the project. And you do have a different approach regarding AI, because we do receive many proposals regarding AI that are kind of like, we'll train this and deliver this to you. And you do have this continuous learning thing going on. Can you talk about it a little bit, how that works and how that is better than the standard okay, we just get a database, train on top of it, and deliver AI to you guys?
Okay, so okay, so one thing I would say is that the way people directly use these AI is that they directly call a Chat GPT API, which just and they just build a intermediary service to transfer the response and display it in the UI. I would say in our case, it's a lot different because we have not only fine-tuned, but we have done some level of prompt engineering. And the reason to do that is that developers often don't spend time thinking what they need to convey. And when they send these queries to the AI, it actually just makes the whole context complex, and then the response that we receive is not that easy. So we have done everything to solve that problem. We have actually done data collection. So first of all, for example, in terms of Cartesi, we are collecting all the data from the documentation from the GitHub projects that are open source right now and built on Cartesi. And then we have, yeah, again, I said we'll use the documentation as well. So once we have all the data, we actually manually, filter out what things we need, what things we don't want to need in the AI. And then we basically label the data, do the sanitization, and then finally do the fine tuning using the tool that we have built. So once it's fine tuned, we actually, a separate person works on the prompt engineering side. So whenever we send some prompt or if you use certain feature that is available in the AI-based CodeSage plugin, then we have our own prompt engineering. So the prompt that the user send is actually converted into something else, which is kind of like our business logic. And through that prompt, we actually get a better response. So I would say this is like in nutshell what we have done for the CodeSage tool, and we are actually doing it for many other projects, like for non-EVM projects as well. We have implemented this CodeSage, and we have seen a rise in a number of successful projects, like people who actually complete their projects on ChainID. So I would say this is one way we figured out the AI issue, and also took the basic the benefit of this new AI that is being developed by the world in the Web3 space.
Makes sense, man. It's funny this all this AI talk because the ChatGPT was trained to a cutoff date, right? And there's lots of changes in Web3. It's a very fast-paced industry, right? And whenever we go to events, and sometimes it just happens, people avoid us. It's like we're there for them. We do the workshop. We are going around in the event asking for people like, "Are you building with us? Do you need any help?" But there's always that one person that pops up only at the moment of a presentation, and then they start talking things that don't make so much sense. And we ask them like, where did he get this information? How did he come up to this conclusion? And they're asking exclusively ChatGPT without really going into the details of things. And they like have outdated information from like 2018, 2019. And it doesn't make sense anymore, man.
It's so I mean, with the continuous learning idea, you would get a coding assistant that is always up to date with our Discord discussions, with our documentation, if we have any updates. So I think it's the best approach for that. But we still have to show this off to people and tell them, do not use ChatGPT, use this here. It's going to be better for you.
Exactly. So the way we deal with this problem is actually quite important, because keeping a change of the versions is quite important to reduce the amount of misunderstanding when it comes to AI. And especially in terms of Web3, the whole package gets updated. It's not just one or two other APIs, but the whole package people actually update, and that just breaks off the previous understanding. So I think when we solve this problem, it's actually something quite important, because otherwise it just makes the AI unusable.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Man, on our previous conversation, you mentioned something about Web3 world building. I think people would be really interested in knowing a little bit more about that. Like, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so Yeah, so I would like to just tell everyone that we are building a few other projects, and so as I mentioned, our team is also based out of East Asia and Canada. So we have a large team, and one of the other projects that we recently kind of started focusing on is called World 3. So World 3 is I'd like to explain it as a next generation autonomous world, which is fully on chain on Bitcoin, and it features multi-chain design. So we have a multi-chain core, and autonomous worlds are basically so autonomous world is a world where people can actually build their own project or introduce their own application, their own protocols openly. So they don't have to seek approvals. They don't have to follow some centralized authority. They can introduce any application, and they can actually, even if the project goes down, the world itself doesn't lose its existence. So with that autonomous world, understanding and idea, we are building the next generation autonomous world, which actually is powered by AI. So we have not just self governance using smart contracts, using on chain voting, but we also have something we call as self evolution. So the AI actually learns from the users, from the transactions, from the activities on what's going on in the world, and then it just enhances the overall world experience. So we have different use cases for the AI, how it actually helps with different projects, different use cases in our world 3. So one of the use case is called the Soul Dragons. So we are launching for our first collection end of July, or probably like mid of next month, which is called the Soul Dragons. And this is AI powered. You can think of it like a AI powered NFT collection, but this is basically a smart set of companions that we are launching, which are actually personalized. And we will also launch a AI builder for these souls in future, so people can create their own personalities. People can create their own experiences around these companions. And the whole platform World 3 is open, so it basically accepts people to introduce their own protocols, to introduce their own set of economies, a set of developer applications, set of decentralized applications to run in World 3. And we have actually launched our own social fi platform, which is a complete missions to earn rewards platform. And we have over the past, I would say, like 8 to 10 weeks, we have seen we have seen a major growth over our Twitter and over the number of users. Like we have over like 10,000 users already on the World 3. And that's when I saw it last night. And then on Twitter also we saw a major growth in the number of users. And so this is what we're building. And since the platform is actually multi-chain in design, we are trying to reach out to different chains, different partners, to see how we can actually collaborate and integrate their system. So even I'd like to see how we can actually integrate Cartesi in this next generation AI powered autonomous world. So there's something we can actually discuss about, spend some time brainstorming, like we
Yeah,
like we
man.
actually talk.
I
Yeah.
actually like from an engineering perspective, I have a follow-up question because as you described this, it feels like there's a natural flow between all these projects where the know-how of one helps the other and they all flow together. I'm pretty sure ChainID helps with the World 3 as well, and vice versa. But as a from the engineering perspective, I get more curious about like how do you run the AI system itself? Is it centralized in a server? Do you try to do some kind of distribution of the processing of it of the information AI needs? How does it work?
Uh,
I feel curious about it.
so I'm actually not the person who's working on the AI, but as per my understanding, the way this AI works right now is that the way World Tree is designed is that we are storing the full state of the autonomous world on chain, and that's how this autonomous world exists on the chain, and we can actually recreate the whole world using the state of the block. So the way how this AI works, or as per my understanding, is that we actually will run it in a centralized service. We have to run it in a centralized service, I would say, because that's how the AI works. But the proof of the computation of the AI is actually stored on chain, and we can at all times verify that this is computed by this server, it's computed by this model, and this we basically store all the hashes on chain, and through that hash we can actually get the validity of this computation. So I would say that's how it works in a nutshell. But I'd have to seek our technical team's help to get a more detailed answer.
Now the
Yes.
answers a lot already, man.
Yeah, it explains so much. I do have a question regarding, I guess, planning and like how do you manage all of this all at once? Because it seems that at the end of the day, it's a big plan with many parts collaborating on it. And I know that for ChainID, for example, you get funding from grants. For these other projects, do you also apply for grants? How does that work? What's your general
Yeah.
process?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and I think a lot of the developer community in Web3 needs some kind of incentivization to build projects. And similar to with similar approach, we also kind of seek different partnerships and apply to different grants. And in our case, we have been pretty lucky because we partnered with some of the big names like Cartesi, in 2024. So I would say, this is part of our strategy, and we have partnered with other projects like Arbitrum, like Mina blockchain, like Binance Smart Chain, Sui blockchain. Some of these other chains as well. We partnered with this year or last year in order to build our integration, and through that integration, we have we when we build this integration, we actually have a long-term maintenance part as well, and that part actually funds the longevity of the project. So it's not just building the feature, it's also the maintenance. And I would say, some of the projects I've seen is that they ask too less for some reason, and when they actually build the projects, it's either built in low quality, or basically the project dies after few months. It's just available on GitHub. And we actually want to build a model where we keep applying for funding, but we give a very healthy projects which actually mature. People don't have to do anything to run it locally. If it was just available to run locally, they'd have to set up the server, have to set up all the different kind of things. But we do it for them, and when we do that, we need this funding to pay our developers to basically keep the project live. And there's different strategies as well. Like we also have some investor funding directly to the coming to the company. We have some level of grants from the government, like in Canada as well. We have some grants. So all that basically kind of motivates us to build this project even further. Yeah.
So in general, you kind of already replied a few of the questions I would have for you next. But like, if you're like giving tips for people, how do you check out all the grants program? How is the experience like for you? But mostly like for somebody who's not into it, somebody who's trying to get into it, how can you explain it to them?
Okay. So so I would actually I think that's a great question, because we also had a similar problem when we started applying for the grants. And the first thing is that it's not like just apply to every grant. Basically, the whole thing is around the problem that we are trying to solve for the company. Like for example, for Cartesi, like we did a lot of research on Cartesi. We went through the whole documentation, tried to understand the architecture, all that things. Even asked questions on Discord to figure out how the community is, how active the project is, what people are actually looking for. So we did that research. We figured out what kind of questions people ask in the Discord, and what we have right now. So we find a difference and a problem that we actually solve for the company. And it doesn't have to be a generic problem, I would say. Like this is the number one thing. It shouldn't be a generic problem. It should be something that is centered towards the project that we're applying the grant for. And similarly, like in our case, we with Cartesi integration, we are building these plugins to make the whole, and it aligns with Cartesi's vision, because Cartesi also wants to build a single platform which actually makes the development easier. That's what I understood through the website. So when we saw that, we figured that I think ChainID is probably something that fits with the vision, which fits with the whole documentation, and I think we can actually build something new around ChainID that helps Cartesi community. So that is how it worked with Cartesi. Similar things work with other chains. So when we I would say the first step is to do in-depth research, not just fill in the form, just put in your usual milestones. Spend some time doing some research, spend 2 3 days doing some research, ask the community, ask the mods what problem people are facing, look at all the channels, like the dev channels, and then try to create your own customized milestones. And if you need some help, we can like sometimes I like even with Cartesi, I think I reached out to the community to ask certain questions around like I think around the Sunodo plugin, or I think around the I just forgot, but I think there were a few questions I asked in Cartesi community as well. And you should ask questions, I would say, to everyone who's willing to apply for grants. And then finally, once you have that, write a very proper, detailed application, not just a small summary. So expand everything, because someone is actually paying for your development. Think of it like from their perspective. So if someone pays, they need a clear understanding of what is being built, what is being delivered, and it's best to have some kind of user metrics. So in our case, we had users, which helped. But if someone doesn't have users, they should actually write some kind of projection on what could be the level of users, what could be the level of activity once it's live, and just so some kind of data like social media followers, or how the product will be released, how will the product be marketed. Because just building the product is one thing, but the second challenge is to actually get it out there, get users. And once you have everything in a detailed proposal, which is clear, which is not too complex, I think then that's a way to apply for funding
Oh,
from my, yeah.
oh well, man. I love to just cut this section of the podcast and put in the front page of the CGP grants as an explanation of what people should be thinking about. That was so well described, man. I feel like a person who's kind of lost and they see a bunch of documentation about this and that, how to do things. If they just watch your short, like for 2 minutes, they're gonna have a much better understanding how to go about it. Then. But to peek to peek into the other research that you did, like you were mentioning, I'd like to hear a kind of feedback from you, man. Like, what kind of suggestions can you give us? Um, it can be about the dev journey, documentation, the tech itself. If you just want to rant about the protocol, like what kind of what is the need of the hour now? Like what do you feel like Cartesi could improve on when it comes to the developer side of things?
Okay, so I would say first thing is that I realized the Cartesi is actually very good on some things, and one of the things is that you guys do actively is getting in touch with the developer community, getting people
Yes.
to yeah. So because I've seen that you guys do these online sessions very frequently. Even last time I saw there was a hackathon going. So I think this is actually pretty good. The other thing I would say Cartesi can focus upon is getting the ecosystem bigger, because once we have a bigger ecosystem through grants, or through different kind of partnerships, once we have a bigger ecosystem, then I think we have more developers, and then we have a bigger name. So once we have a bigger ecosystem, I think that would actually help Cartesi increase the number of developers, and also get us more users, because we're looking for more developers in ChainID for Cartesi. So that would be my suggestion. And apart from that, I think it's a it's a very solid platform. I love the documentation. It's very detailed. Even the video parts of the documentation are nicely done. I love the activity on Discord because anytime I asked the question, it didn't take like hours to get an answer. It was almost instantaneous. So I think Cartesi is really good on the communication side of things. Um, Maybe if I'm not sure, do you guys do offline events a lot?
We do. We do have these programs. We do have these masterclass programs right now that we are engaging more and more. We had this first one in Nigeria. We just had one in Brazil. We're going to have another one in Brazil and another one in Kenya. So we are tackling lots of places.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So if you guys are actually coming to the ETHCC, we
Yeah.
actually have I think our co-founder is also coming to the ETHCC. So maybe you guys can have a chat, and a few of other team members are also attending that. So I think that would be nice. But I think overall we're pretty happy with what Cartesi has compared to a lot of these other chains, and we would be excited to get ChainID out there, and build more and more features for the Cartesi community once we have some feedback from the initial developer community. So that would be our target. And I would say we are fully aligned with Cartesi's goals, and we see ChainID being a integral part of Cartesi, and we would do anything it takes to achieve that.
That's awesome, man.
That would be amazing, man.
Mentioning community, we do have two community questions. Real quick answers for them, just because we're kind of running short on time. So let's edge them in right here. So the first one is from nttly.eth. Rahul, verification is a dead hassle on Remix. How do you guys simplify that step for newbies? Also, does ChainID has support for auto-fill JS docs for smart contracts?
Could you repeat the second one?
Okay, so the first one, the second one is, does ChainID has support for auto-fill JS docs for smart contracts?
I think they are mentioning some AI support or something to autocomplete the documentation.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the doc strings.
Okay. So I would say the first, to answer the first question, is that we have built a straightforward, simple integration with the smart contract verification, and the smart contract verification tool that we have directly integrates with Etherscan and these other block explorer where we can validate these smart contracts. So all you need is just your API key. And once you have that API key, just input it in the UI that we provide in the plugin, and through that you can just get your smart contract verified. It's as simple as that. There's no complicated steps needed. There's since we are a fully integrated platform, that's how easy it is. For the second question, we actually have we don't have a autocomplete documentation so far because it's something we have got a lot of feedback for, like from our different partners and users as well. But we are actually looking to do that. We are kind of like also seeing other opportunities, and one of the ways we try to cover that gap is through that AI tool. So right now, this CodeSage is actually trained on the documentation. It's actually fine-tuned with that context. But in future, we also want to do it in a real time. So anytime you're kind of like typing the code, it auto completes based on the understanding from the documentation and the open source.
That's awesome, man. CodeSage is something that I'm really looking forward to. Real quick question from Marcus as well. How seamless do you see the integration process for transitioning existing projects to ChainID?
Oh, it's very simple actually. Since we're like a online ID, there's no fee that you have to pay. You can just upload your own own applications. Just upload it as a zip, or just upload the individual files, or just create the files, and you have the whole environment set up. We give you these Linux-based containers, so you don't have to set up your own Linux. You can install any packages that you would want, or you can actually create your own bash scripting as well to install these packages. And once you have that, it's just seamless. So anytime you want to go back to your local environment, just go to the menu, download the whole files, download the whole project, and it gives you a zip which you can just use seamlessly.
Okay,
That's great.
that's great, man. All right, so
Awesome.
I think this is a wrap, right? So just to recap, we talked about so many things in here. We talked about Rahul, his experience. We talked about how it is the process to apply for grants. We talked about the whole ecosystem, this whole huge idea that Rahul and his partners have in the background, how everything integrates itself, and we're actually creating a whole world inside of Webtree. We even talked about a little bit of AI in here. So Rahul, thank you so much for all of these insights. It was amazing.
Thank you, man.
I
Thank
would
you
really
so
like
much.
the community to post on Twitter, send on YouTube, on Lonely, and every one of our streaming platforms. What do you want to see in the next episodes? And please do like Rahul and apply for DevAd Seed Grants. We got funding up to 5,000 per project, and mentorship, and apply for CGP, where we have funding up to $50,000, right? And join our Discord. We're a lot of fun and engaging community. And this was I Build, Therefore I Am. So keep building and pioneering the world of Web3. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for attending this session. Thank you, Joao and Gabriel, for being awesome hosts. And I look forward to being in constant touch to keep you guys updated on the project. And
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, the listeners, to attend this session. And hope you guys can follow ChainID's progress and use ChainID once it's live very soon.
Okay, last announcement.
Awesome.
Before I forget, we do have the winner of the swag kit is mttli.eth. So congratulations, man. We're gonna contact you, or please respond to our contact attempts to get your swag kit.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you guys. See you.